Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. And today, you know what it is. We are going to talk about another new development coming up. And this time, it is the Lentor area, and it is Lentor Garden Residences by Kingsford. So, interestingly, if you think about it, a couple of years ago, people were still thinking, where is Lentor? Where is it exactly at? But today, just 4 years later, ever since the first plot has been sold, we are on plot number 7. Lentor Modern has TOP. The mall is fully functioning. So this township is really building up and really coming to life. So today we are going to explore why this could be an interesting launch for you to consider. Because with Lentor Garden Residences, you have an opportunity to buy back at the pricing that people have bought into the Lentor area 3 to 4 years ago. So to get us started, here's a brief content agenda. Firstly, we're going to talk about the history of Lentor, what developments we have currently. Next is the potential objections that consumers like yourself would have when it comes to Lentor, because this is a 7th plot. Some people do think that it's too many condominiums coming up in the area, but is that true? Next is the Lentor Gardens project information before finishing off with the floor plan overview, where I would also highlight some of the key floor plans you should consider if you would like to buy into something unique in the area. So we start with the history of Lentor. Like I've mentioned, this is the 7th plot to be launched in the whole of the Lentor area. The first plot was actually Lentor Modern, which is an integrated development on top of Lentor MRT. So it came with shops, supermarkets, and everything below. It is now up, fully functioning. You can go and check it out for yourself. So this plot actually set the benchmark in terms of prices. It's likely going to be one of the more expensive resale developments in the area. The thing is, because it's TOP towards the end of last year, there are some sub-sale units. So I'll show a little bit more about the price of these sub-sale transactions a little bit later. Following towards the end of this year, we will likely see 3 more Lentor condominiums complete. This will be Lentor Hill Residences, Hillock Green, and Lentor Mansion. Lentoria likely will be done next year, followed by Lentor Central Residences. They actually just sold that last year in 2025, so construction is still underway and likely to be completed in 2028. And then that brings us to Lentor Garden Residences, which will be launched next month. So if you look at these condominiums right now, you can see that the proximity actually to Lentor MRT is quite close. So you are about at the max 10 minutes walk away, even if you are from the furthest plot all the way to Lentor MRT. So to be honest, I feel like with Lentor Modern charging at such a high premium, if you are buying in at a much lower price, it's actually quite a good safety buffer for you to exit, because for most consumers coming into the Lentor area, looking at how the developments are placed, they are all within quite good walking distance to Lentor MRT. You can cut through the park and you will also get to Lentor MRT. So some of the potential objections that I've heard include oversupply in the area because there's so many condominiums in Lentor already. Secondly, it's also that it's unlikely to see strong capital appreciation. And lastly is the price point, because the price point may not be as attractive as compared since we are coming in like 4 years later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to address all these concerns one by one, starting with the first one, which is the oversupply in the area. And to do this, I'm going to use a case study and we are going to zoom into the Pasir Ris area. And the reason why I use Pasir Ris is because I see similarities between these two areas. Firstly, Pasir Ris also saw a new integrated development come in called Pasir Ris 8. But then just one street across from Pasir Ris 8, there's actually several resale condominiums in the area like Coco Palms, Dines, MV Residences, Livia, the Petlet, and they are all actually just one road from the integrated development. So in this case, I do think this is quite a good example that we can look into. So we are going to look into all these condominiums in Pasir Ris and check out their profitability and performance. But first, what I was also interested to find out is how many condo units are there in this whole cluster in Pasir Ris. So I've added up all the unit numbers here from Pasir Ris 8, Coco Palms, Dines, MV Residences, the Petlet, Elias Green, Livia, Risk Grandeur, and Belissa. And this gives us a total number 5,794 units. And then To draw a little bit of a comparison into the Lentor area right now, you have Lentor Modern, Lentor Hills, Hillock Green, Lentoria, Lentor Mansion, Lentor Central, Lentor Gardens, Thompson Grove, which is this plot in front of Lentor MRT, and then the second Lentor Central plot, which is bidded and going to be sold next year, expected about 562 units. If we add all these units up, it gives us 4,131 units. So if we compare this, is it really an oversupply? Have we not seen other areas in Singapore have this kind of condo supply? Actually, no, because Pasir Ris, we have 5,700 over units, and that number is actually much bigger as compared to what we see in the Lentor area right now. And then if we zoom in to profitability, because capital appreciation, what people might be afraid is that, because there's so many condominiums and then there's going to be competition when I sell, the capital appreciation may not be as strong. But if we look into this, Pasir Ris 8, Coco Palms, D-Nest, and the Petlet, what we can see is that they all almost have 100% profitable transactions with only 3 unprofitable transactions. And if we zoom into the capital gains, average capital gains for Pasir Ris 8 so far is 385,000, Coco Palms 360,000, D-Nest at 300, and the Petlet at $390,000. So all these developments were sold at different time stages. So the land bid price, their selling price were all different. But because everyone have held the property for quite some time, they all see good gains. Then next, going into the other condominiums like Livia, NV Residences, Elias Green, Riz Gwendor, we see the same thing. So right here, we have a little bit more unprofitable transactions, 6 from Livia, 7 from NV Residences. And these are all data from the past 5 years. However, it's still more than 95% profitable transactions. And if we look into their average profitability, Livia, you have 440,000, NV Residences 248,000, Elias Green is 538,000, and Riz Gwendor 583,000. So all these very, very healthy numbers. So I think when people talk about the oversupply and when people talk about maybe it not being as profitable, if you're coming in from a standpoint that you're buying in today and you want to sell in 4 years, I do see it to be a little bit of a challenge because yes, there's quite a few condominiums that will compete with you when you're trying to sell, and then everybody will compete in pricing, so you may not get a good capital appreciation. However, like we see in all these condominiums where they've been selling at different stages throughout the years, and then residents, if you're staying in it, you're holding it for a long period of time, I think that you will still see capital gain. And most importantly, what you want today is to buy in at a good entry price, because potentially Lentor Gardens is one of the more affordable entry, especially if you're a first-time buyer or you are a HDB upgrader. You can still get a good size condominium at quite an affordable and safe pricing that is comfortable for you. So today, if you are a buyer who's buying for your own stay or planning to hold a little bit longer, I do not think that these are factors that should deter you from looking into Lentor Garden Residences. Alright, next, a better comparison would be for us to also look into Lentor Modern's profitability. So it's sold in 2022, TOP towards the end of last year, and we have already sold 44 sub-sale transactions. No surprise here, it's 100% profitable. We can see that from 2022 to where it is now, there's actually a growth of 13.38%. So every year is a 3.56% growth, which is rather healthy. And if we look into the highest PSF that has transacted at Lentor Modern right now is for the 2-bedroom at 2.596 PSF, which is very, very close to 2,600 PSF for an outside central region plot. The purchase price for this 2-bed, 2-bath is $1.9 million. So if you think about it, at $1.9 million, it could be a potential entry price for a 3-bedroom in Lentor Garden Residences. Also, what you want to note is that Lentor Modern is actually sold pre-harmonization. So if you want to compare the PSF apple to apple, we need to add another 5 to 7% to this PSF. So at more than 2,600 PSF, you can buy into a subsale at Lentor Modern, or from a price of much lower, you will be able to buy into Lentor Garden Residences. So if you're concerned from a capital appreciation perspective, we have data to prove that Lentor has been doing well so far, so it may not be as big of an objection as you think it might be. So the last objection that we have been seeing is that the pricing may not be as attractive because this is a 7th plot and it's not as competitive. So to address that, we're going to look at the land bid prices for the whole of the Lentor area. So Lentor Modern was first bidded in 2021, 2022. Their price is actually one of the highest at 1,204 PSF PPR. So because they are an integrated development, usually there's going to be a premium added on it. Second site here is Lentor Hills Residences. Their land price is 1,060 PSF PPR, followed by Hillock Green at 1,108 PSF PPR. Then the next two plot will be Lentoria at 1,130 PSF PPR, and all these plots that I've mentioned before that, these are actually the pre-harmonized plots, okay? Then the subsequent plots here from Lentor Mansion is actually under the harmonization rule. So interestingly, when the harmonization rule kicks in, Lentor Mansion, Guacoland managed to get it at a lower price, below 1,000 PSF PPR, 985 PSF PPR, and then the next plot up following that is Lentor Central Residences, and then that is bidded at 982 PSF PPR. And lastly, interestingly, usually this does not happen, but for the 7th plot, Lentor Garden Residences, the developer Kingsford got this land last year at 920 PSF PPR. So if we look into the whole Lentor cluster now, we can see that Lentor Gardens pricing, just from a land bid perspective, is going to be the lowest, which means the developers have more margin to play with. Their break-even is lower. They will be able to pass this on to the consumers if they're not too aggressive with their pricing. And because they also know that there's another new land that's been bidded in Lentor, and this is a land behind Lentor Modern, and it's bidded at 1,278. And this will be sold next year. There's more than a 300 PSF gap between these two lands right now. So buying into Lentor Gardens today or waiting next year to buy Lentor Central, 2nd plot, you could see a very, very big price difference because the land bid prices will just show us where the developer's break even will be. And usually developers are trying to sell it at a profit right here because they're here to make money. So it's likely that if you miss this plot and you still want to come into Lentor, you might need to look into the sub-sale transactions for all the other properties or pay a much higher price for the 2nd plot in Lentor Central. And to give you a little bit more context to why 920 PSF PPR is actually very, very cheap for Lentor, is that one station above us, Springleaf Residences, which also sold very well last year, their land bid price is actually 905 PSF PPR, which is only 15 PSF PPR higher as compared. So if you think about it, the developers, Kingsford, actually got a very good deal for this land plot. So if you're not aggressive, you will stand to gain right here. So to give you an idea, based on the estimated break-even price that Kingsford got for Lentor Garden Residences, if the developer sell it at a 15% profit margin, the PSF will be at 2,178. If you look at the 20% profit margin, it will be 2,273, and the 25% profit margin will be at 2,368 PSF. And in comparison to Lentor Central, the 2nd plot, just to give you an idea of how prices could look like in the future, in Lentor, based on their break-even, their estimated profit margin, if it's 20%, will be 2,854. If it's 25%, it will be 2,973. 30% profit margin will see us go beyond 3,000 PSF. So what we know now is that for Lentor Garden Residences, the developer has kindly given us an indication. And you should be excited if you're looking out for a new home here in Lentor because the starting price is from 2,050 PSF, and they have shared with us that the average selling PSF here will be 2,350 PSF. So what does that mean for you? If we break down the different room sizes here based on the starting price, the starting PSF of 2,050 and the average PSF of 2,350, this will be what the prices will look like from the 2-bedroom all the way to 4-bedroom here. What is exciting is that for a 2-bedroom, a 2-bed, 2-bath, because that's the smallest unit in Lentor Garden Residences, you could potentially still buy in at below $1.4 million for a completely new property. 2-bed plus study maybe at about 1.5, 3-bedroom below 1.8. All right, if this is true, you should definitely get in, because if you see the sub-sale transaction that I shared with you earlier, is that the 2-bed 2-bath at Lentor Modern is already at $1.9 million. 3-bed plus premium here, slightly over 1.9, close to the $2 million price point. And a 4-bedroom maybe below the $3 million price point, even for the bigger 4-bedroom, which is really, really attractive, especially for the market right now. Before I go into the project information and all that, I just wanted to share a little bit. I think Lentor is an interesting area because it's very young, very up and coming. And what I've really noticed, and this is based on my personal experience because I have some customers who have bought the Lentor area, is that the Lentor customers actually come from everywhere, because Lentor is actually in the Ang Mo Kio planning precinct. So Ang Mo Kio, if you think about it, is rather central, and now with the MRT line, Lentor all the way down to the CBD, all the way down to like Great Wall area, Orchard area is really, really close. Yeah, you're probably like 8 to 10 stops away from this area. You'll get there between like 25-30 minutes, which is really, really convenient. And what I realized is that because it is quite centrally located, if you think of it, it's slightly above Upper Thomson, above the Ang Mo Kio area, is that the buyers really come from everywhere, which is an opportunity for you. My own clients who bought Lentor, they actually stay in areas like Bukit Batok, Pasir Ris, Sengkang, Punggol, Serangoon, Holland Village. So really, really interesting here, because if buyers from all across Singapore can accept this, then in the resale market, you might be able to open up to a bigger demographics of buyers who are able to accept to come into an area like Lentor, which will give you bigger resellability also in the future. And a quick pause right now before I go into the second half of the video, and it's to tell you that the Showflat preview will start from the 4th of July all the way till the 14th of July, and the launch will be on the 18th of July. If you have any specific questions about Lentor, you want a one-on-one consultation and discussion based on your needs, based on your unique objectives, feel free to reach out to me via my WhatsApp number and I'll share more with you. And if you're ready to check out the Showflat, you can also reach out to me and I'll be happy to show you around. So now that we have addressed some of the objections, and if you're still not fazed by it, here's more information for Lentor Garden Residences. So in total, there are 499 units ranging from 2-bedroom all the way to 4-bedroom, plus 3 strata terraces. This is interesting because there's no strata terraces in any of the condominiums in the whole of the Lentor area. Expected COP will be December 2030. I'll expect this to be a little bit earlier when the preview starts. Developers should give us a better indication. There's a total of 499 units, so a good mid-sized development, and there's a total of 402 car park lots, which is really great and something to point out because a lot of the new condominiums now don't have that many car park allocation. And if we look into the unit mix, again, 2 bedrooms all the way to 4 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms takes up about 50% of the unit mix, followed by the 3 bedroom, which is about 27%, and the 4 bedroom about 21%. Looking at the unit mix here, I do think it's well catered for people who are looking for own stay or investment. This is the overall site plan. What is nice, Lentor Garden Residences, is just the 3 blocks are flanking Hillock Park, so they are close to the greenery. And for the units facing inside, they do have the pool view, or they are overlooking a shorter block. And beyond the shorter block in the future, there's going to be future developments, but those are only at 1.4 plot ratio, which means that they're likely about 4 or 5 stories. So even if you're facing into the pool and you're mid-floor onwards, you likely will have perpetual good views, even with a future development in a distance. What is also great to point out is that you have a tennis court, which 2 of the Lentor condominiums do not have, and you also have very decent pool facilities as well. Here are some of the perspectives. Similar with all Lentor condominiums, they do have sky terraces in between, and it's to facilitate wind flow within the whole Lentor cluster. This is something that's mandated by URA. Another perspective here, you can see it a little bit better. You can also see where they have the BBQ pavilions, the sky view deck, where all the pools are located at. So this is the basic information for Lentor Garden Residences. Next, I'm going to dive in straight into the floor plan, starting with the 2-bedroom units. So here's the general 2-bedroom layouts at Lentor Garden Residences. There's a few more with tiny differences in each, but this will give you a good overview of what to expect for the different layouts for the 2-bedrooms. First is a 6461 with a non-enclosed kitchen, dumbbell layout, quite comfortable, 646 square feet. Taking the average price, we should be looking at $1.518 million as the average price for this unit type. 678 square feet. This will come up to be about 1.59, close to $1.6 million in terms of the average pricing. And this comes with a study and an enclosed kitchen. So I would say it's quite the ideal layout. And the last one would be a 689 square feet 2-bed 2-bath. What I really love about this is that it comes with a home shelter. So if you're looking for something that stands out from the other developments, then this layout is one to consider, because 689 square feet, if the average pricing is at $1.619 million and you're able to come in anywhere lower in a 1.5 plus range, I do think it's quite good and you should go for this unit type. This is my top choice for the 2-bedroom because of the home shelter. You want to stand out from the competition, then this is the unit type to go for. If you look into the 2-bed 2-bath pricing in Lentor, I would say that most development has been transacting at the 1.4 all the way to 1.7 plus million dollar range for a 2-bed 2-bath. So today, if you manage to come in here really from 1.4 all the way to 1.6 plus, I still think it's a very safe entry for you if you're looking for a little bit of a stay and to hold a little bit longer. And the layout type to go for is the one with the home shelter, because I think this would help in terms of your resellability in the resale market in the future. And then next is the 2-bed plus study layout. This one is a little bit bigger at 732 square feet. So the average, if we look into the average PSF that the developer will be selling at, it will be $1.72 million. So at $1.72 million, is this going to be a good price? I would say yes and no. I would say between the 2-bed plus study and that 2-bedroom with a home shelter, I might pick that instead, because there may not be a real need for a proper study, because the 2nd bedroom could be a study. So this is unless for people who can't look into the 3-bedroom and still want the extra study space to be convertible, put like a single bed and stuff, then maybe this could still be something to consider, because the entry price is still good. If we look into what has already been transacted, like I said, Lentor Modern is a 2-bed 2-bath with a flex room, so it's somewhat like a study. The highest transaction lodged there for a sub-sale is $1.9 million. Lentor Hills has gone above 1.8, Hillock Green above 1.9, Lentoria above 1.9, Lentor Central above 1.9 as well. So 1.7 plus, if you just look at the 2-bed 2-bath plus study in the whole of the Lentor enclave, if you're buying in the $1.7 million range, I would say still a pretty good buy, especially if you've missed out all these other Lentor properties previously. You are still able to buy in at a similar price as people who have bought in 3-4 years ago. So the next bedroom type that we're going to talk about is a 3-bedroom deluxe here, or more commonly known as the 3-bedroom compact. So for Lentor Garden Residences, 2 layouts, one is 872 square feet and the other at 936 square feet. So if you see, I've quoted the average price at 2,350 PSF. However, if you really find units below that and at 2,050 PSF, this will bring the purchase price to 1.7 plus million and below $2 million for the 936 square feet layout. I would say definitely get it. You don't have to hesitate, because like I said, at Lentor Modern, there's a 2-bed 2-bath plus a flex room that has already transacted at $1.9 million. So if you can find a proper 3-bedroom at just maybe $100,000 more or even cheaper, then for sure it's going to be a very safe exit for you. In terms of the layout, of course, the 936 square feet layout will be a little bit better because it comes with an extra study room. And if you look at the size, this is comparable to some of the compact layouts that have been sold in Lentoria, in Hillock Green, and people have paid even a higher price as compared to this average selling price. So today you can potentially still buy into something that is more attractive and at a better layout. Because something to point out is that as Lentor mentioned, the 3-bedroom compact actually doesn't come with an enclosed kitchen, which most families would prefer when it comes to a 3-bedroom. So then that is already your edge as compared to them. And if we look into the price transacted, like I said, 3-bedroom compact, Hillock Green has gone above $2.2 million. Lentor mentioned 2.159. Lentoria at a high of $2.5 million. And Lentor Central also at about 2.159. So today, if you can buy in at the average selling price of 2350 PSF or lower, then it is definitely worth for you to come in, especially because for the same unit size, you get an extra study as compared to most of your competitors, and an enclosed kitchen as compared to some others like Lentoria and Lentor mentioned. So then next, this would be the favorite layout for all parents, families, HDB upgraders, because it's the 3-bedroom premium and then they will come with the home shelter. So the 969 square feet, what is great here is that there is a study area that's been carved out and then you still get a home shelter. You also have the 1001 square feet, and this is more of a common size that we've seen for a 3-bedroom premium. It comes with a home shelter connected to the kitchen. So the 969 square feet, I would say this is quite a compact 3-bedroom premium, but it gives you everything you need. And the average selling price here is $2.277 million. And for the 1,000 square feet layout is at $2.35 million. How does this compare to the neighbors? If we look into Lentor Modern, subsale at a high is at $2.8 million. Lentor Hills at a high of 2.49. Hillock Green at a high of 2.8. Lentor Mansion at 2.4. Lentoria at 2.8. And Lentor Central Residences at 2.578. So PSF wise, you can also see that our average selling PSF is comparable or lower than the highs of many of these condominiums in the Lentor area. So today, if we can get in, your Bella number is great, you get in at a low entry, then you potentially could gain good capital appreciation even though you're buying in at the 7th plot, even though you're buying 3 and 4 years later than most of these people. So entry price is going to be very, very important for Lentor Garden Residences if you want to make a quick gain. So if you want to know what is that walkaway, if you have a 4-year sort of horizon, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to discuss and identify that walkaway price for you. And next, moving on to our bigger unit types, this is a 4-bedroom at 1,184 square feet. So if we account for the average selling price at 2,350 PSF, this will be about $2.782 million. What is great is that you have a dry, you have a wet kitchen, the home shelter, the general space is quite decent for a 4-bedroom in the market today, and especially the walk-in wardrobe is a bit more proper than some of the other walk-in wardrobes that we've seen in the market. And another thing, now that I'm here, now that I've gone this far, what I realized as I'm looking into this layout is that I forgot to point out that Lentor Garden Residences is actually a non-PPVC development, which means that you can actually hack off the wall. You want a bigger living room, you can hack the walls down to make it bigger. You can configure it how you like in between the rooms as well. The walls are hackable. Its flexibility is also something that's different from the rest of the developments in the Lentor area. Then if we look into the price, this is the smaller 4-bedroom pricing. In Lentor Hills, it's gone up to $3 million. Hillock Green at 2.76. Lentor Mansion at 2.9. Lentoria all the way at $2.9 million. Lentor Central at 2.8 as well. So again, this will be down to your balloting. The average selling price here, I would say, is still quite attractive if you are looking for a 4-bedroom in the market today, because closer to the central region, 4-bedrooms are easily beyond the $3 million mark, all the way to $3.5, $3.6 million. So if your budget is limited and space is of a concern, then I think Lentor could still provide you with a good option. If we look into the bigger 4-bedroom here, this is at 1,346 square feet. Considering the average price, it will be $3.16 million. So the living room here, what is great is you have a landscape living room, yet a proper area to put your dining table. So this is really like the perfect layout. If you love to host, you have a bigger family, this will be the layout that you want to consider. It comes with a home shelter, your dry and wet kitchen. Also, I would say this layout is really pretty good if budget is not an issue. If we look into how the big units have been transacting in Lentor, at Lentor Modern, subsale has gone all the way up to $3.8 million. Lentor Hills, the highs of 3.1. Hillock Green, also highs of 3.1. Lentoria, 3.36. Lentor Central, 3.23. So it's a similar vein today. What we are seeing, developers are pricing it well. So for people who have missed it and still want to consider the Lentor area for a new development, this could be your chance to buy into something of a good entry price if you have missed the previous projects in the area and you are looking for something new. And lastly, this is the Terrace layouts, the 3 Terrace units in Lentor Gardens Residences. They have a total space of 1,496, but what you want to note is that it comes with the air space too. I would say the potential edge for this is that there's no other Strata terraces in the whole of the Lentor area. So if you're buying to this, it's a unique product. There's only 3 in a whole 4,000 units in the Lentor cluster. So if you think about that, you want to buy into something that's different, that has future resaleability, you don't need to compete with people in terms of product, then this could be the one that you want to consider. If we take 2,350 PSF times 1,496, this will bring us to be about $3.3+ million to go into a Strata landed, which I think is quite a fair pricing for a Strata landed property. So, but this one, definitely your ballot will have to be pretty good because 3 units is going to be gone on day 1. So that's everything that I have to share for Lentor Gardens Residences at the moment. We do not have the actual indicative pricing yet, likely closer to the launch. We will get that. So if you want the latest information and stay connected, feel free to reach out to me via my WhatsApp number and I'll send you the floor plans right now. Or you can also head over to Instagram at The Property Ming and you can get the most updated updates, live updates over there. Alright, so last thing that I'll leave you with is that if you are a first-time buyer or someone who's buying a private property for the first time, I do think that Lentor Gardens Residence will provide a very good value for you to come in now at a good entry price. And especially if you're staying in it and you have a holding period of more than 10 years, maybe 8 to 10 years and beyond, I do think that is still rather safe. You can enjoy a brand new development at a good entry price while still having capital appreciation because you held it over a long period of time. So that's all for now and I will see you the next time. Bye.